Good evening and welcome to a cold cinema car park on a chilly Wednesday evening. It has been a while, folks. I mean, not by normal people standards. Normal people go to the cinema a handful of times a year, not me. But it is the something of March, and this is the first time I've been this month. After cramming in 8 visits in February, this is my first one, and we're halfway through the month, so this is bad form, and I've got some catching up to do. So tonight's film is an unquantifiable beast. It is the new film from Korean director Bong Joon-ho, known as Director Bong. And he made headlines a few years back. When I say a few years back, we're talking 2020 probably, when he won the Best Picture Oscar for his film Parasite, which I did see, and it was incredible. And it really put Donald Trump's back up because it was a foreign language film, it was a Korean film, and it won Best Picture at the Oscars, at the Academy Awards. I mean, how dare it? But I'll tell you why it won, because it was brilliant. So I was really interested to come and see what he'd been up to and what he had done next. This is not a foreign language film, this is in the English language. And this is Mickey 17. It is set in the future. I'm not sure if we're told what year. I might have missed the beginning. But I mean, like, minutes of it, just mere minutes of the beginning. But basically it's the future, and you know, Earth is knackered because we know all that's coming, and there is an absolutely crackers ex-congressman who has decided that he's going to go and colonize another planet. So the ex-congressman Kenneth Marshall is played by Mark Ruffalo. Now, I love Mark Ruffalo. I've loved Mark Ruffalo since 2004, since 13 going on 30. And then I loved him in other stuff, and I have loved him as Bruce Banner in all of the Marvel films, and I think he's a very talented chap. And in more recent years, as many actors do, once you kind of settle in and you really settle into yourself, and he should, because he's got to be in his early 50s now, very late 40s, early 50s, you just kind of, not that you stop caring, but you're so, I guess, sure of who you are, and having been a part of the MCU for the last 20 years, I'd imagine he's quite financially set, so he can do more interesting stuff. And I'm not saying he hasn't been paid well for Mickey 17 or the other thing I'm thinking of, which was Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things, which was probably the last thing I saw him in. But you get to do bolder projects and more interesting roles. So he is having all the fun as Kenneth Marshall. Kenneth Marshall is, I guess, vaguely Donald Trump-esque. He's got big bouffanted hair, and he's got really, really funny teeth. Like big, shiny, white teeth, which don't really seem to suit his face. And he is absolutely convinced of his own brilliance. His wife, Ilfa, is played by Toni Collette, who is incapable of a bad performance and is absolutely superb in everything. So they are at the head of this project that is going out to find a planet to colonize. And one of the things that they take with them on this mission is basically a human printer, a machine that can print a replica of a human. Now, it's been banned on Earth for reasons that are explained during the film, because it's been abused, basically. But they want to go and travel and find a new planet to colonize. And their argument is, we need this printer because what we're going to do is we're going to have what we call expendables, which is going to be one human reprinted over and over again as many times as is necessary, so they can test things out on them. So it's basically like a human guinea pig. And because he is in trouble with a very dodgy loan shark on Earth, something that his friend Timo, played by Stephen Ewan, who people will recognise as Glenn from The Walking Dead, Timo has got his friend Mickey into trouble with this very dodgy loan shark, and in order to get away from said dodgy loan shark, they literally decide to leave Earth on this Kenneth Marshall mission. And Mickey is down on his luck, perhaps not the brightest chap. He's a very he's quite introverted, and he just wants a quiet life, and his friend got him into all of this trouble, and he just kind of, none of it's his fault. He's just carried along, and he signs up to be an expendable. because he hasn't read the forms properly. He doesn't really realise what he's signing up for, but he is signing up to be the man who will die repeatedly and be reprinted. Now, Mickey is played by Robert Pattinson. And again, I love the fact that at this stage in his career, he can kind of do what he wants. Now, obviously, the majority of people, when they think of Robert Pattinson, will instantly think of Twilight. Of course they will. Even though the original Twilight, the first one, is 16 years old now. It came out right towards the end of 2008. And I remember that because I couldn't go to the cinema because I was too pregnant. He did 4 Twilight films. They made an absolute fortune. Himself and Kristen Stewart, who played Bella and Edward respectively, made an absolute fortune, and it has afforded both of them the freedom to just go, no, I'm not going to do that project, I'm going to do this project. He's made some quite out there films, and he's not a vain actor. He is, I think he's still kind of a handsome chap. He's quite odd looking, deliberately odd looking as Mickey, but he could have gone down that road of heartthrob roles and big money roles, and he didn't want to do that. He took the cash that he made from the Twilight franchise and went, well, I'm going to do interesting stuff. One of the last things I saw him in, I'm trying to think if he was in anything in between. Yes, he was in What was it called? Oh, the Christopher Nolan one. It's gone out of my head. The one that came out during lockdown. The one that's a palindrome. Tenet, that's what it was called. Jeez, that's properly abandoned my brain there. He was in Tenet. But the film before that he did was The Batman, in which I think he was absolutely brilliant. He's a really talented actor. I really liked his accent work in Mickey 17. I like the physicality of his performance. Basically what you're building up to is they only print a new Mickey when the previous Mickey dies. Mickey 17 ends up stranded on this planet that they're hoping to colonise, this icy planet. They think he's dead, they print another one, and then lo and behold, you've got 2 Mickeys. And that's where the trouble really starts, because you're not allowed to have multiples. That's an abomination. Reprinting one man over and over and again apparently is fine, but having 2 at once is not on. Because the company that Marshall's the head of has kind of got a weird religious overtone as well. He is kind of like paint himself as like a godlike figure. Again, it's very Trump. Arrogant, stupid, money, wants fame, wants power, having his strings pulled by a wife who's clearly smarter than he is. I don't know if that's the case with Trump. Probably not. But yeah, it's once you get the 2 Mickeys, it's really interesting because Mickey 18 has quite a different attitude and personality to Mickey 17, even though they're all printed from the same guy and technically they all have the same memories. I also have to mention Naomi Aki, who plays Nasha, who is Mickey's life partner, I guess. He meets her on the spaceship and they kind of fall in love. She's a sort of police officer on the ship. Who else is knocking about? You've got Thomas Turgoose of This Is England fame. I think he's just credited as like Bazooka Guy. I mentioned Stephen Yuen from, and apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I probably am, from The Walking Dead, who played Glenn. You've also got Angus Imrie, son of Celia, who made a brilliant, well, I don't know if it was his debut, but was in Joe Cornish's The Kid Who Would Be King, right back in 2018, 2019. He has quite a small role in this. Like, everybody's putting in a great performance. It's absolutely crackers. It's really entertaining. Sci-fi film, but it's quite it's sci-fi shades. No, there's not shades of horror. It's horrific in places. I wouldn't say it was a horror film. It's kind of a lot of things all rolled into one. It's very odd. My main criticism, if I have one, is it's far too long. It's 2 hours 17 minutes. Come on, director Bong, condense it down a bit, mate. Other than that, it was an absolute romp. I really liked Robert Pattinson. I really liked the supporting cast. I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen next because it is so out there, like in space, but also just odd. I heard as the credits rolled, because there was a fair few people in there tonight, I heard one guy go, well, it was different, but I want my cinema to be different. I want to be challenged. I don't want formula. Like, the last thing I came to see was Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, which like I wept my way through that review. And yes, it was kind of formulaic, but I really liked it. All of this stuff has its place. It's why I love cinema so much. And I'm really glad I got to see this in a cinema as intended. It was a big, mad spectacle, and all hail director Bong. I'm interested again to see what he does next. That's it. Thanks for watching. like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. And I'll be back soon. Katie out.